Hello and welcome to Merlins Brick News, the weekly show on all things brick building, where we talk about set updates and announcements from all the major brands, MOCs of the week, and I think we do have one reading recommendation this week. Information is presented as always by setdb.org, the best source for set information on the internet, and this is, as always, where we are going to go as a first step, and we are starting in alphabetical order with BlueBrixx, and that is typically the first brand we are going to talk about. Maybe there will be another brand one day starting with an A, but now we are BlueBrixx, and here we have announcements for the medieval guardhouse, the 107786. This bad boy is going to have 2,429 pieces, and I guess that is interesting, will be designed by Adrian from the BlueBrixx design team. I think he is has never worked on the medieval series so far. I mean, their lead designer on medieval, Martin, has left the team a couple of months ago, so I guess BlueBrixx is now spreading the work. So Anton is doing stuff, but Adrian as well. Anyhow, he has been working on this medieval guardhouse, and yeah, I think it's quite interesting. It has two connection points to a wall, to a palisade, whatever you may call it, and I think, you do see certain design elements that we also know from other BlueBrixx sets. I mean, if you look at the coloring of these symbols, if you will, that is the typical Blaustein colors. The question is, how do you connect this guardhouse? Because I'm not sure if this fence here is exactly in the same design as the other building. I mean, obviously, we have talked about this a couple of months ago. I can't recall that the new announced extension for Blaustein Castle has a component where basically the castle is opening up. There will be a palisade and other buildings like the stables, etc., can be integrated. But I'm not 1% sure if this is how this actually will be connected to the other pieces. But I guess we'll figure it out. BlueBrixx has not yet shown us a picture of how this thing will fit in. The only picture that we do know, if you look in ZTB for Blaustein Castle, you will see for the newest extension, you will see how BlueBrixx thinks this is going to look like. Let's take a look at the building itself. I think it's a relatively straightforward / simple design, by means the walls are simply brick built. There is not much plate work or anything like that. No snot technique as far as I can tell, but just, brick on brick, which should make this quite robust, but also easy to build. The building itself has all in all 3 floors. I think in the basement you have something like a prison cell and stuff like that. And then going up to under the roof, the guardsmen, I guess, are sleeping, and in the center you have like a weapons rack and I guess living accommodations. All in all, I think quite an interesting and nice building, but again, big question mark is how will this be integrated with the other medieval sets. Anyhow, it's just an announcement, so keep that in mind. You can assume usually between announcement and availability around 6 months with BlueBrixx specials. With that, we're moving on to the Atomic Locomotive V600. So this thing is interesting because actually, technically, I think this thing never existed. I think there wasn't even a plan to build this one. But yes, I think this is like, it's not science fiction. I think they have been back in the day, like in the 50s and 60s, right? Where people were crazy about the new nuclear energy and they wanted to do all kinds of stuff. I mean, as we know, ships have been done. But I think, to my knowledge, there's never been a nuclear-powered train to this day. But the V600 was a concept, I think, over here in Germany. But like I said, never built. But yeah, it's a bit of an exotic thing. It's a 6-stud train, as far as I can tell. And there's everything you need, including a nuclear reactor. With that, we're moving on to a couple of new sets announcements of the ModBrixx series by BlueBrixx. And here we have the flower shop, the 107787. It's 1 out of 3 sets that have been announced, and as far as I can tell, the concept or the design behind these, as they are located or placed on a 16x32 base plate, and they do have these Technic connection bricks. I guess the idea is that you can put them in your city in between modular buildings. Obviously, they should fit both with BlueBrixx's own modular buildings line of many other brands, but of course to Lego modular buildings as well. I think it's a nice idea, and we have here first the 107787 flower shop, 526 pieces, and like I said, on a 16x32 base plate. With that, we are moving on to 107788. That's a kiosk. So that's, I guess, a newspaper, a newsstand, something like that. Kiosk, I do believe, is a German word. I think nobody else is using it, but I may be wrong here. Please keep me honest. But I'm not sure if that word is used in English. Anyhow, it's a newsstand. And yeah, you have also a couple of lantern posts. I think overall quite a beautiful design. But yeah, I think it's something just to get maybe a little bit of space in between your modular buildings. And last but not least, the 107789, that is the parking lot. Really like the parking signs that have been bricked here, but also something that other BlueBrixx designers have done in the past. I mean, as you can see, there is some painting going on here, and this is even brick built into the wall. So I guess this tan color is the new one. It's quite a nice touch, I should say. However, keep in mind this one can only be connected on one side to a modular building. With that, we're moving on to availability. And here from the Dark Eye, for those of you who don't know that, Dark Eye, das schwarze Auge in German, was kind of, if you will, a German basically role-playing game, pen and paper. It was basically Germans in quote Dungeons and Dragons. I don't really know if it ever had any international success. I think the history was actually that it was done by the team that was originally tasked by translating Dungeons and Dragons into German, and I think after a certain time they decide, hey, let's do our own game. So I think it's quite popular in German-speaking countries, but I don't know if it ever had any international success under the brand The Dark Eye. But in German, that is actually what you see here, is das schwarze Auge. That is actually the German variant. Anyhow, they have created the Emperor Dragon Kaiser Drache, I think in German, the 105539. It's a BlueBrixx Pro set, so we do assume that it's going to be Xingbao pieces, and it's completely in gold. Based on these pictures, it looks not like pearl gold, but rather like a metallic gold tone. But I actually don't know. This could be interesting to find out, but so far I have no intentions to build it. But anyhow, it is a very large dragon. The interesting thing, I personally do believe, is that the entire wings are brick built using Technic panels, which I think not many companies are doing, right? I think Mega Construx or Mega, the dragons, the Game of Thrones dragons, they had like a fabric, and Lego with the Xingbao dragons, for instance, is usually using fabrics for large wings as well. However, this thing here is built. Overall, it has 1,550 pieces, and over here in Europe, you have to pay 80 bucks for it. That, as always, includes value-add tax. With that, we're moving on to CaDA, and here we have a couple of availabilities in China. First and foremost, we have the Allianz Stadium, the 66021. Actually, I'm not really sure in which city this one is, but so it's not the Allianz Arena over here in Munich. I think, is it in Austria or in Italy? Not 100% sure. Anyhow, it is a stadium, so it should fit quite well, both with all the Lego stadiums as well as with the one from Mould King. And of course, and that's why it's called Allianz Stadium, CaDA has acquired a license. So this set is not yet listed by CaDA itself on their homepage. However, we have a first Chinese retailer that has listed this one, 145 bucks over there, 3,638 pieces. So this is not a small set. Like I said, I do assume that it should fit rather well with the other stadiums, but that's to be figured out. Definitely something, I think I will put it on my list, something I may take a look into. Then we have a set that, again, a new design by Nicolas CaDA, which is quite interesting, the 66013, the Treehouse Library. Keep in mind, Nicolas CaDA, pretty well-known designer on Rebrickable. However, he has also, I think this is the second set he has done together with CaDA, and you can also buy from him going forward. He has also a design in the Brickling, a designer program that you will be able to purchase. So he's one of the very few designers where you can buy both from CaDA as well as from Lego sets from his designs. Anyhow, as always, I have here all the links to his social media outlets, Rebrickable, Flickr, etc. Anyhow, going back to the Treehouse Library, the 66013, it has 1,808 pieces. Definitely also said I may take a look into thinking about it. And CaDA itself is listing this for just $80, 4.4 cents a piece. That's not much. But there's also first retailers in China, at least, listing this one for slightly cheaper, 3.5 cents a piece. Quite a nice and beautiful treehouse, I must rather say. Great design by Mr. CaDA. With that, we're moving on to another availability of the Phantasma race car, the 51083. These things have only, or this one has only 322 pieces. In general, I've built I think 2 of these in the past. So what this is quite an interesting concept that CaDA has. So CaDA is a brand of the Double Eagle Group, and what they also do next to brick build stuff is just RC cars. And this is kind of a hybrid. By means, if you look at these, or if you build one of these, there's like a black box in the center, and you connect the wheels directly to the black box. So all the driving functions, steering, etc., is just handled by this one thing. And then you basically you build the bricks around it. The result is that you have, first of all, quite an easy build, and compared to a Technic model, it's pretty good in driving around. So it feels like driving it, feels like an RC car, but it looks like a brick build design, which is quite an interesting hybrid, which makes a ton of sense for this company. Anyhow, you can buy this one for around $24 over in China. And with that, we're moving on to the CaDA military crane truck 61507. This is designed by Efferman, I think. Michael Wirth, right? That is Efferman, is it not? Yeah, that is a design by Efferman, which is quite cool. I think it is not on his Rubrickable account. No, it is not. I don't know if I have not been browsing through his Flickr account. If this is like a mock he has done in the past or something he did very recently exclusive for CaDA, please let me know in the comment section. But anyhow, he's a very well and famous Technic mock designer, and now he's working with CaDA. And this crane truck has 2,686 pieces. It's almost 57 centimeters in length, so that is not a small thing. And it's gonna cost you with CaDA's listing it for $180, 6.7 cents a piece. But as you can see, in China, you get this already for around $100. I'm actually not sure on the situation if this is a static model or an RC model. I'm actually not sure. I guess it's static. If you look at the box, at least I cannot see any pictures on motorization. Then we have another set that is not yet listed by CaDA itself, but here we have the Sierra 240E truck harvester. Actually, I haven't done my research. I'm not really sure where this vehicle is coming from, what the company is, but as you can see, CaDA does have a license. All right, this thing has 1,831 pieces, and you can see this listed in Asia for around $80, $82 right now. But yeah, let's see and wait until CaDA is releasing this one, listing this one themselves. Anyhow, moving on to Cobi, and here we have a couple of availabilities over here in Europe. As always, usually with Cobi, we are first when it comes to new releases, but usually after some time you should also be able to get this across the pond. In Asia, actually do not know what the situation is, but here we have now the PZL23 Karas, which I think is the name of a fish in Polish. However, I don't know what the English name of this fish is. Anyhow, it's a 5751. This is a light bomber by the Polish Air Force. It was built between 36, I do believe, or 34 was the first flight, and then was built until 38. So Poland had around 250 when Nazi Germany marched into Poland. I think a couple of them escaped into other countries. But yeah, it was just built before the war, and you can now buy this 1x30, or at least pre-order over here in Europe, the 1x32 scale model for around $47 again. No, I'm not really sure what the tax situation in this case is. Anyhow, 7.6 cents a piece. It has 586 pieces and 3 minifigures, actually, because this was manned by a crew of 3 people. They had a pilot, a crew commander, and a rear gunner, and a lot of bombs. So it's not a small thing. It's like 28 centimeters in length. So this is not a small airplane. Keep this in mind. This is 1x32 scale, which is not the case here. The Hawker Typhoon, the Mark 1B, the Typhoon, of course, a pretty famous British single-seated bomber. This is, however, a 1x48 scale model. It has only 190 pieces. Keep that in mind. And over in Europe, you're going to pay for this around 17 bucks. I mean, the Typhoon, I guess, is very well known, also internationally. I think it was originally designed to replace the Hurricane, but it never came to that because it was not up to the task. Nevertheless, they made over 3,300 of these during the war. So I guess after the Spitfire and the Hurricane, it was one of the most and well-known British Air Force planes of Second World War. With that, we're moving on to another variant of Panzerjäger Tiger Elephant, 1,239 pieces for the 2582 by Cobi, 1,252 pieces, one minifig. So this is like an alternative variant of this one of the 2583. So we have the limited edition, the 2581, and then we have two standard editions in. These are basically different variants. So the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 184, also known as the Tank Hunter Tiger, these are two different iterations made during the war. I mean, they never made many of these tanks. To my knowledge, something around 80 or so. This thing had a lot of drawbacks, but also a lot of success. Maybe it was not the thing that German Wehrmacht actually needed at this point in time during the war. But anyhow, let's ignore the history. Now you have two different colored vehicles. I think both of them have one minifigure included, and you have these two different color scheme. And as it should be, this one here, because it is the upgrade version with the machine gun, also has a machine gun in addition. Piece-wise, I think they're almost the same. So I think this one here has like 16 less pieces. And yeah, like I said, different color scheme and also different color scheme for the minifigures. For this set with its 1,239 pieces, you pay around 74 bucks. Over here in Europe, Cobi itself is listing it with for around 90 bucks. And then I guess that's also interesting, especially for a lot of North American folks. We have another variant of the A10 Thunderbolt, the Warthog, the 5856 by Cobi. And this is actually just a different color scheme. It's Operation Desert Storm, i.e. it's a green color scheme and not, I think we had a Thunderbolt beginning of last year. Yes, that was the 5837 and this was completely in black. And this one here is now in a, I guess, more traditional green. And yeah, for the 667 pieces and half of a minifig, because this is a 1x48 scale. This is actually interesting. It's 1x48 scale, but still has a minifigure. Usually minifigure scale is 1x32. That's interesting. But yeah, have never built it. Know a couple of folks who have built the black one. But yeah, like I said, this one you can now pre-order over here in Europe for around 51 bucks, 7.6 cents a piece. With that, we're moving on to Lego, and here we have only one new set. Technically, there's also the London telephone thingy. I will talk about this next week. Anyhow, this Kingfisher bird was announced a couple of days ago. It's a 10331. It's already going to release February 1st, so pretty short notice. But anyhow, as you can see, Jay's Brick Block already has a review out. You pay for this thing around 50 bucks, basically in the US and Europe, and Britain, Canada, and Australia accordingly. And yeah, it's a Kingfisher bird. It's quite beautiful, I must say. I really like the design, really like the work that the Lego team has done here. I really like the dynamic of the design. So this entire water pond and yeah, the way this water looks is really beautiful. The bird itself, I think there's a lot of interesting motion. It has, I guess, just catched a fish. So yeah, really a beautiful design. Like the base, using snot technique, we don't see these kind of free floating bases that often that you know don't come on plates or base plates, but just straight out snot, which is quite cool. And yeah, I think it is quite a beautiful design, and like I said, around 50 bucks. And then we have from Mega Construx, Mega yet nowadays, we have 4 new Pokemon availabilities, or Pokemons that I've seen for the first time. First we have Machamp, and then, by the way, ignore, please, my apologies for my ignorance, I have no idea how to pronounce these, but we have the Machamp, this is how I'm going to call it, the HTH70. It has 400 pieces, and so far internationally I have only a listing in the UK of 32 British pounds. That's not cheap for just 400 pieces, but yeah, I mean, Mega is usually not that cheap. And then we have the Pokemons Emolga and Bulbasaur, Charming Woods, HTH69. It has 194 pieces, and you can buy this Amazon UK. I haven't seen an Amazon US yet, for around 21 bucks. And again, that's 21 quid, so that's not cheap. And then we have the HTH72, the Mini Motion Golbat, I guess it is called. And for the 318 pieces, you pay around 29 bucks. And then last but not least, we have the Mini Motion Duct Trio. I don't know, HTH73. It has 350 pieces, and Amazon UK is listing it for 29 bucks. So like I said, I don't have any other international listings yet, but I guess they will start to show up going forward. I think most of these have some function with motion. So for instance, if you press here, I think a button, and then these three bad boys will start moving, and the same is true here with the Golbat. I think here basically the wings are moving. Those things, I think Emolga and Bulbasaur are not going to move, and Machamp, yeah, I guess you can basically arrange the arms, right? Anyhow, for new Pokemons. And with that, we're moving on to Mould King, and here we have now availability of the Mid-Age World Lock Cabin, the 16054. So this is part of the relatively recent and new medieval series of Mould King. If you look at the design, I mean, you see a lot of familiarity. If you compare it with the 21325 by Lego, the medieval blacksmith, i.e. you have the Nexonite shields on the roof, and also if you look at basically the entire wooden structure, there are a lot of design elements that are very well known. So I think this should be a set that should fit quite well with the Lego set. However, it does have a different color scheme. It has 2,192 pieces, and you pay in Asia around 76 bucks, based on what I can say here. Mould King itself is listing this for $90. With that, we're moving on to the Logarithmic Ball Calculator. This is another GBC or Great Ball Contraption set by Mould King. Actually, this lineup is pretty big nowadays. I think they have like, how many is this? 7 or 8 sets. So that's quite a lot, and I think they are still the only company making these. Most of these have been designed by Bertil. I also actually linked the URL to the rebrickable mock. What is interesting is actually that Bertil is giving away all of these for free, to my knowledge. I think all of them are free of charge if you go to rebrickable. But yeah, I mean, I guess buying over 2,000 Lego pieces, most of them Technic, could get quite expensive and cumbersome, so this could be an alternative. Like all Mould King sets is BlueBrixx pieces, so do expect a piece quality that is very similar to that of Lego. So this could be a cheap or cheaper alternative. With that, we're moving on to also 2 additional availabilities of military vehicles. To my knowledge, these should be all remote controlled. So first of all, we have the semi-tracked armored vehicle, also known as Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251. Actually, I should change the name here, because that is the correct one. So this is from the German Wehrmacht from Second World War. This set by Mould King, the 20027, has 1,298 pieces. You can buy this for around 60 bucks in China. And yeah, I mean, not too many. Actually, there is also, I should also document the designer. So this is designed again by JMK, who has done, I think, other sets with Mould King in the past. And as you can see here, it is an RC vehicle, which I guess is one of the big differences from Cobi here. And then we have the Karl Mortar. So this is obviously this also relatively well-known German tank, Karlgeschütz, and this thing has 1,648 pieces. Again, it is remote controlled, and you pay around 70 bucks for it in China, and this is a design by Dongdong. and Mould King itself is listing it for around 82, 83 bucks. And then we're moving on to Panlos, and here we have another BlueBrixx teddy bear set, and this is so cool. I think a friend of mine has built one of these in the past. I'm not really sure if we published a review yet on this site. We actually, if not, we intend to do so. And these are very detailed sets, so there's so many loving details in these. Obviously, I haven't seen this one. Definitely something we may take a look at going forward. So we are talking now about the 881103. Interesting will be the printing situation. I've heard some rumors that Panlos intends to put less prints into their sets going forward. At this point in time, nothing I could confirm. But so far, usually Panlos sets have a ton of pet printed pieces in there in great quality. The pieces themselves are really great quality. And yeah, like I said, these buildings, at least the ones that I've seen so far, have a ton of detail in there. So really looking forward. I do hope that we can publish something on this set. Anyhow, it's not that small. It's 24.5 centimeters by 16.3 and almost 30 centimeters in height. So that's almost like modular building territory from a size perspective. And you can buy this in Asia for around 55 bucks. With that, I come to my one reading recommendation for this week. I have actually built the Jem'Hadar attack ship by BlueBrixx from the mid-size category or mid-size line, the 105686. And yeah, I mean, what's to say? It's Jem'Hadar. It's the first mid-sized ship from the Dominion, from the BlueBrixx Star Trek series. And I really like the overall design, I must really say. I mean, it's not an easy ship, right? I mean, the Jem'Hadar attack ships are basically like space beetles, and it's really not easy to build. The shapes are very complicated, and of course, the BlueBrixx design team was struggling, especially if you look here at all the slope work on the underbelly. It is, I mean, it's rough, right? It's not what it should be, but I think they did the best they could, and have done a very nice job. The only thing that I would have liked, if you look at original pictures, you can see from the series that the warp drives had a different pink color tone than the main hull. And this is actually not reflected by BlueBrixx. They have used Transdark Pink for both of that. But I mean, yeah, Star Trek sets, there was a lot of... Star Trek is a lot about colors, right, on the ships. And I mean, since BlueBrixx has been doing these ships, folks have been, arguing around the coloring, especially with the Klingons, the Romulans, but also this one here. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it is, I think, a beautiful design, and I'm really hoping that BlueBrixx will do more Dominion ships going forward, and hopefully also a couple of bigger ones. Anyhow, with that, we're moving on to MOCs of the week, and here we have a MOC that, as far as I can tell, is free of charge by Jazel Crass. His version of a UCS Millennium Falcon, however, this bad boy has almost twice the pieces than the Lego version has. This thing has 14,156 pieces, and as he's writing in his description, he was going for a studdless design, and oh my god, he has succeeded. This thing is a real beauty, unbelievable, nice design. However, it is 14,000 pieces. He used a ton of snot technique, so I think this thing has not only a lot of pieces, it's going to be heavy, like really heavy. However, as you can see on this picture, it can be attached to the wall. I mean, this is something you cannot do, as I would say. I mean, I've never tried it with mine, but I think you cannot do this with the Lego set. The panels will come off. I mean, there's obviously a couple of stand designs but this is still angled to a certain degree, right? Like 45 degrees or something. I think you cannot do this with the Lego set, but you can do this with this MOC. It's really, really cool. I do love the design. And with that, we're moving on to a design by Brickman Studio. And this is actually a combined package. You can get these things individually. And in fact, I mean, if you look at this, the way it's looking here, it's too tightly packed, right? Especially the fence or the defense line with all the cannons. This is not how it looks in the movie, but you have here the Star Wars Episode 5 Battle on Hoth bundle of Rebel Echo Base. And you have the generator, you have the base itself, the Echo base, you have the ion cannon, and you have, like I said, the defense line with all the cannons. But like I said, it's a bit too dense, but nevertheless, beautiful design. And like I said, by Brickman Studio, you can buy all of these components individually, which I think makes a ton of more sense. With that, we're moving on to an alternate build of the 10326 Natural History Museum by MOCs. I mean, he's the Mr. Modular alternate build, I would say, and he's doing a great job. I mean, I've built a couple of his alternate builds, and I mean, he's doing really great. And this is the old town hall. Obviously, the idea is to use the pieces from the Natural History Museum to create something similar to the original town hall. And of course, I think his argument is, well, look at it, you can get this a lot cheaper, and it's looking, yeah, I would say almost or as good as the Lego set does. So yeah, if that is something you're interested in, to get maybe also a higher building, but just on a 32 by 32 base plate, so not 1.5 base plates, but just one, I think this could be for you. PMOX is asking for 30 euros. With that, we're moving on to I Have the High Ground from BlueBrixx. Eat by Bricks? I'm not really sure how the intention is to pronounce this. Again, I'm not a native speaker, but I can say that this has 778 pieces, and he's only asking for $2 Australian, which is almost like nothing. How much is $2 Australian? Like one euro or $1, something like that, maybe a little bit more. So it's not much, and it's a cool design. I mean, I think I Have the High Ground or this famous scene from episode 3. There are a lot of like diorama format mocks of this. Actually, I have one here on a shelf behind me. And of course, the interesting question is, are you going for trans pieces, more on a plate on plate or tile on plate design, or are you going for snot? And of course, in snot, it makes a ton more sense to use like regular colors and not trans colors. And I think, yeah, this is a good example of using a snot technique to get basically this lava or magma look, if you will. And I think, yeah, it's a really cool design using this technique. Personally, I would rather go for using plates and tiles in trans, because then you could you can put lighting below, which is actually something I've done. But if lighting is not really your thing, then I think you have a great design here. Really like the rock work, not just using only black, but also, yeah, putting some, I guess, reddish brown and maybe even dark brown in there to get a little bit of variety. Pretty cool. But like I said, I would personally rather go for lighting. With that, we're moving on to the Rivendell base upgrade in version 2 by Mats. I think, yeah, as the name suggests, this is version 2, so he has done that in the past. I think I did cover this in my news show back on the day. I really like this extension. In general, I do believe that Rivendell is a great set also to throw more pieces into. It is a great start by the LEGO team. They have done an amazing job. It's still one of my personally most beloved sets from LEGO of all time. However, of course, you could put a bit more meat to the bone, and this is what Mats has done here. You have to throw in 3,641 additional pieces, basically to raise this thing up by, like, I don't know, 10 centimeters. However, he's asking for 27 British pound. That's on the rather on the higher side, but like I keep saying, I mean, if you have to buy 3,641 Lego pieces, 27 pounds are the least of your problems. But I really like this design, very well done. And, which is cool, this thing still keeps its modularity, which I think may come in handy because this is not small. With that, we're moving on to Botanical Park version 2 by BlueBrixx, 1,647 pieces, €6 for the instruction. I think it's an amazing botanical park. You have it's a very clean tile-centric look, but you have a couple of 2x2 around, I guess this is tile with one stud, or is it a plate modified with one stud? I don't know, Lego's confusing me, or the Brickling team sometimes in that regard. Anyhow, you have like 3-4 studs to throw in minifigures, which I personally always really appreciate, because I'm somebody, I want to have my minifigures attached to at least one stud. I'm not the kind of guy who throws in minifigures on tiles, because every time I move something or want to clean it up, you're in trouble. Anyhow, a couple of studs, like 5 or 6 studs for attaching minifigs, but next to that, it's pretty clean look. Really like some of his plant work. The pond itself is of course quite beautiful. Pretty simple tree. Maybe I would put a bit more leaves and stuff and limb elements to the tree. It's a bit bare bone for my taste, but next to that, a real beautiful design. With that, we're moving on to another design by Bean Venus, the Puerto Santa Maria Harbor Light, and I'm pretty sure I've entirely pronounced this wrong. What I can say you is that he's only asking for $4 for a MOC with 4,997 pieces. However, I have done some reporting on Bean Venus designs in the past, and this is kind of his style. Building very large MOCs and then selling them really, really cheap on Rebrickable. But in general, the Harbor Light, the Puerto Santa Maria, it should fit very well with a couple of his previous MOCs, like this one here, for instance, the Customs House. I guess the idea is that they should fit very well together. And of course, if you're going for, I don't know, Caribbean kind of vibe, maybe also Mediterranean, is that Medi? Yeah, I think that is correct. Anyhow, if you know, like a Spanish design, maybe even Italian design, I think this is really cool. Great MOC, great work. And then we have from BlueBrixx. Actually, I just picked this one helmet, but I really like his helmet design. I mean, there are a couple of very talented helmet designers on Rebrickable. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Brad's designs. However, I think he has kind of retired from this. So BlueBrixx is pushing forward, also bringing you all the new helmets and delights. He's also doing these cool packs. I just picked his newest creation, the Captain Enoch. I don't know, is his name ever pronounced in the show? I'm not really sure. But anyhow, we have now the helmet. Very cool design. Obviously, these printed dishes may be an issue. And the other thing is, I don't know, he's used a black dish with a silver logo, but I'm not really sure. It was red in the show, wasn't it? Anyhow, cool design. I mean, it is a very iconic helmet design. I'm not sure yet if I like it by means of the show, but nevertheless, here we go. Captain of the Night Troopers has a helmet now. And with that, we're moving on to a MOC by Grab a Beer and Build Lego, which is a cool name. Swamp Speeder, 719 pieces, €6. Actually, I got recognized this designer, or became aware of his designs by looking at the Imperial variant of the speeder. Personally, I would of course go with the Republic version, in this case in blue for the 501st, but obviously, I mean, color scheme is something you can, adapt according to your needs. He has also very cool bug speeder design, which I guess Lego is taking a stab at this year as well, right? There are rumors around a set for this specific scene for Mandalorian Season 3. So let's see what Lego can contribute here. But if you can't wait for that, or even if Lego, which can be assumed relatively safe, will do a simpler, smaller design, then this designer's portfolio may be for you. With that, we're moving on to Bob the Builder, 69, cool name. And he has done a Ninjago City Towers MOC 7,503 pieces, $11, which is not too shabby. And of course, the idea is to have another MOC to make your Ninjago City even bigger. I mean, we just recently had a pretty big venue over here in southern Germany, Schwabenstein, and there I was a big fan of a large Ninjago City MOC, a pretty big MOC, actually much bigger than this here is. But nevertheless, if this is not your cup of tea, designing your entire Ninjago MOC, but you have maybe, for instance, a couple or all of the Ninjago City sets, and you just need more stuff, then this could be for you. And yeah, it's quite a beautiful design. It should fit really, really well into the overall scene of a Ninjago City. $11, not too shabby for a MOC with 7,500 pieces. And then we have Edda's Owl House by T-Brick. Actually, this was an entry into Lego Ideas, and basically he's now bringing this in an updated and refined version to Rebrickable. And yeah, I mean, it's Edda's house, pretty cool. Personally, I'm not a big fan of his tower design because there are just too many simple panels in here, but of course that's something you could just not build, or go for your own more detailed design. Obviously round towers are never easy to build, but I do believe there are cooler designs than using all these panels. But next to that, it is a cool design, nice roof building technique, You can open the back, which I think makes a ton of sense. First of all, this thing has 3 floors and it has this complicated roof, so you don't want to open it up to the top. But yeah, in this case, you can still access it using the back wall. So I hope you liked the show. For those of you who watch this on YouTube, please leave a like or comment, or even better, subscribe to the channel if you're listening to this on any podcast platform. I mean, there's always a way to like, subscribe, rate, whatever you can do. Everything is helping out. So thank you for that. And yeah, last but not least, thanks for listening. See you next week.